morning sun had barely risen when Linda opened her eyes. She hadn't really slept. How could she? Her mind had been racing all night, thinking about the same thing over and over. Food. Her 2 kids needed food. She sat up slowly on the worn-out couch that had become her bed over the past few months. The small apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Her daughter, 7 years old, and her son, just 5, were still asleep in the only bedroom. At least they had the bed. At least they had that much. Linda rubbed her face with both hands and felt how thin she'd become. Her cheeks were hollow now. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. But that didn't matter. What mattered was feeding her babies. She walked quietly to the kitchen, if you could even call it that. It was more like a corner with a hot plate and a tiny fridge that hummed too loudly. She opened the fridge already knowing what she'd find. Half a carton of milk. That was it. The cabinets were worse. Empty except for a few packets of salt and pepper from fast food places. 3 weeks. It had been 3 weeks since the restaurant let her go. Budget cuts, they said. Nothing personal, they said. But it was personal to her. That job was everything. It paid the bills, kept the lights on, put food on the table. Now she was behind on rent. The landlord had stopped being understanding after the 2nd month. Linda reached for her purse. It was an old brown bag, the strap held together with safety pins. She'd been carrying it for almost 6 years now. Inside, she kept a small Ziploc bag. This bag had become her lifeline over the past week. Every time she found a coin, any coin, she'd drop it in. Pennies from the parking lot. Nickels from under the car seat. Dimes from coat pockets she hadn't worn in years. Quarters were like finding gold. She poured the coins onto the kitchen counter and started counting. The sound of metal clinking against the laminate surface was almost musical. Almost. 1 penny. 2 pennies. 5 pennies. A dime. Another dime. 3 quarters. She counted slowly, carefully, making sure she didn't miss a single cent. $3.47. That's what she had. That's what stood between her children and another day of hunger. Linda had given the last of their food to the kids yesterday. A can of soup split between 2 bowls. They'd asked for seconds. She told them the soup was all gone, but she'd make them a big breakfast today. They believed her. Kids always do. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her stomach had stopped growling. Now it just ached. A dull, constant pain she'd learned to ignore. When you're a mother, you learn to ignore a lot of things. Your own hunger, your own fear, your own exhaustion. None of it matters when you have 2 little lives depending on you. Linda gathered the coins and put them back in the Ziploc bag. She sealed it carefully, pressing the seal twice to make sure it was tight. Then she tucked it into her purse. She knew exactly where she was going. The Save More supermarket was 3 blocks away. She'd walk, save the bus fare. Every penny counted now. She changed into her cleanest pair of jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. In the bathroom mirror, she barely recognized herself. The woman staring back looked 10 years older than her 32 years. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that needed washing, but water cost money too when you're behind on bills. She splashed some water on her face and pulled her hair back into a ponytail. Before leaving, she checked on the kids. Her daughter was curled up like a little ball, her favorite stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. Her son was sprawled out like a starfish, taking up more space than seemed possible for such a small person. They looked peaceful, innocent. They had no idea how bad things really were. Linda wanted to keep it that way for as long as possible. She left a note on the kitchen counter. Went to get breakfast. Be back soon. I love you both more than the moon and stars. It was what she always wrote. What she always said. Because it was true. The walk to Save More felt longer than usual. Maybe because she was weak. Maybe because she was dreading what came next. She'd have to count out those coins in front of people, in front of strangers who had full carts and full wallets and probably full fridges at home. The supermarket parking lot was already busy. Saturday morning. Families doing their weekly shopping, couples buying ingredients for nice dinners, people living normal lives. Lives that used to be hers too, not that long ago. Linda stood at the entrance for a moment. The automatic doors were right there, waiting to slide open. But her feet wouldn't move. Something about walking through those doors made it all real, made her situation visible. She wasn't just poor in the privacy of her apartment anymore. She was about to be poor in public. She took a deep breath. Her kids needed bread. They needed eggs if the money stretched that far. They needed their mother to be brave. So she stepped forward. The doors whooshed open and cold air conditioning hit her face. The supermarket was bright. Too bright. Fluorescent lights everywhere. And food, so much food. Aisles and aisles of food. Things she couldn't afford. Things she couldn't even think about. She grabbed a handbasket. Not a cart. She didn't need a cart for what $3 could buy. She walked past the fresh produce, the colorful fruits and vegetables that her kids loved. Past the meat section with its neat packages of chicken and beef. Past the dairy aisle with its gallons of milk and blocks of cheese. She went straight to the bread aisle. The cheapest loaves were on the bottom shelf, of course. White bread. Store brand. $2.99. She picked one up and held it like it was precious, because to her it was now for the eggs. If she was lucky, if she counted right, she'd have just enough. The cheapest eggs were $2.49. She did the math in her head. $2.99 plus $2.49. $5.48. She only had $3.47. Her heart sank. It was bread or eggs. Not both, never both. Not anymore. Linda chose bread. At least she could make toast. At least it was something. She made her way to the checkout lanes, basket in hand with just one loaf of bread inside. She picked the shortest line and waited. The woman in front of her had a cart overflowing with groceries. Bags of chips, fresh fruit, a whole chicken, juice boxes, things kids loved. When it was finally her turn, Linda placed the bread on the conveyor belt. Just one item. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes, scanned it. $2.99, she said. Linda opened her purse and pulled out the Ziploc bag. Her hands were shaking. Why were they shaking? She'd done this before. But somehow today felt different. Harder. She unzipped the bag and started taking out coins. She placed them on the counter one by one, counting out loud quietly. 25, 50, 75, $1. The quarters went fast. Then came the dimes and nickels. 110, 120, 130. Behind her, she heard someone sigh. A loud, impatient sigh. Heat rushed to her face. Her hands shook harder. A nickel slipped from her fingers and bounced on the floor. Then another. Then a dime. Oh no, she whispered. She bent down quickly to pick them up, but her vision blurred. Tears. Not now. Please not now. She was on her knees on the supermarket floor, searching for coins while strangers stepped around her. This was rock bottom. This was what giving up felt like, but she couldn't give up. Her kids were waiting, so she kept searching through tears, picking up pennies and nickels like they were diamonds, because to her they were. Linda's knees pressed against the cold supermarket floor. She could see the coins scattered around her, little circles of copper and silver against the white tile. Her hands moved quickly, grabbing each one, but her vision was still blurry from the tears she was trying so hard to hold back. A penny under someone's shoe, a nickel near the candy rack, a dime that had rolled almost 3 feet away. She crawled a little, reaching for each coin like her life depended on it, because in a way it did. Some people really need to get their act together, a voice said above her. Linda didn't look up. She didn't want to see the face that went with that voice, but she heard it clearly, sharp, judgmental, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who'd never had to count pennies for bread. I know, right? Another voice agreed. Like, if you can't afford groceries, maybe don't hold up the whole line. Linda's face burned. Her whole body felt hot with shame. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor and never exist again. But she couldn't. She had 2 kids at home waiting for their mother to bring food, so she kept picking up coins. The cashier, Rebecca was her name tag, leaned over the counter. "Ma'am, it's okay. Take your time," she said softly. There was no judgment in her voice, just kindness, and somehow that kindness made the tears harder to hold back. Linda finally gathered all the coins. She could feel them in her palms, warm now from her body heat. She stood up slowly. Her knees hurt. Her head felt light. When was the last time she'd eaten? Thursday, Wednesday? The days had started blurring together. She placed the coins back on the counter. Her hands were still shaking. She hated that they were shaking. It made her look weak. Made her look exactly like what those women behind her thought she was, someone who couldn't get their act together. But they didn't know. They didn't know that 3 months ago she'd been fine. She'd had a job, paid her bills on time, never worried about where the next meal would come from. They didn't know that life could change in an instant, that you could do everything right and still end up on a supermarket floor picking up pennies. $1. Linda started counting again. Her voice was barely a whisper. 125. 150. The quarters clinked against the counter. 175. $2. Behind her, someone's phone rang. Loud. Some pop song she didn't recognize. The person answered it. Hey. Yeah, I'm just at the store. This lady is taking forever at checkout. They weren't even trying to whisper. Linda's hands moved faster. Dimes now. 210. 220. 230. Her fingers fumbled. She almost dropped another coin but caught it just in time. 240. 250. Ma'am. The well-dressed woman directly behind her said, Do you think maybe you could let some of us go first? Some of us have places to be. Linda turned slightly. She saw the woman clearly now. Designer purse. Perfect hair. Manicured nails. A shopping cart full of expensive items. Organic this. Free range that. The kind of groceries Linda used to buy before life fell apart. I'm almost done, Linda said quietly. I'm sorry. Well, hurry up then, the woman said, checking her watch. I have a hair appointment at 11. A hair appointment? This woman was annoyed about being late to a hair appointment, while Linda was trying to buy bread with coins. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. 260, Linda continued. 270. 280. Nickels now. They were smaller, harder to pick up with shaking hands. 285. 290. 295, almost there. Just 4 more cents. She could see the pennies in her palm. 4 little copper circles. 4 cents standing between her and feeding her children. 296. 297. 298. 1 penny left. She placed it on the counter carefully. 299. Rebecca, the cashier, swept all the coins toward her and started counting them into the register. Linda watched each coin disappear into its little slot. Quarters in one section, dimes in another, nickels, pennies, all sorted, all counted. 299 exactly, Rebecca confirmed with a small smile. You got it just right, Linda nodded. She didn't trust herself to speak. If she spoke, she might cry, and she'd already embarrassed herself enough today. Rebecca put the bread in a thin plastic bag and handed it over. Linda took it with both hands. 1 loaf of bread. That's what she had to show for all her coins, all her counting, all her humiliation. 1 loaf of bread for 2 hungry kids, thank you, Linda managed to whisper. You have a good day now, Rebecca said, and Linda could tell she meant it. Linda turned to leave. She had to walk past the line of people who'd been waiting, who'd been watching, who'd been judging. She kept her eyes down, clutching the bag with her bread like it might fly away. Finally, the woman with the designer purse muttered as she pushed her cart forward. That was ridiculous. Linda kept walking. Past the checkout lanes, past the customer service desk, past the big windows that showed the parking lot outside. She just wanted to get out, to get home, to give her kids this bread and pretend everything was okay. But then she heard footsteps behind her. Quick footsteps. Someone was following her. Excuse me, a man's voice called out. Ma'am, excuse me, Linda's heart sank. What now? Was she in trouble? Did she miscount? Did she not have enough money after all? She stopped walking and turned around slowly. A man was walking toward her. He was older, maybe in his 60s, wearing simple clothes, jeans and a flannel shirt. Nothing fancy. He had a kind face, tired eyes that somehow looked like they'd seen a lot of life. Like maybe he understood things, yes? Linda asked nervously. The man stopped a few feet away. He wasn't rushing. Wasn't aggressive, just calm. I'm sorry, he said. I couldn't help but notice what happened back there. Linda's face burned again. Great. Another person who watched her humiliation. Another person who probably thought she was pathetic. I just wanted to say, the man continued, that those women were wrong. What they said. How they treated you. That wasn't right. Linda blinked. That wasn't what she expected to hear. You don't have to apologize for trying to feed your family, he said. There's no shame in that. No shame at all. The tears Linda had been holding back finally spilled over. She couldn't help it. This stranger's kindness, after all that judgment, after all that shame, it just broke something inside her. I'm sorry, Linda said, wiping her eyes quickly. I'm sorry. I'm just having a really hard time right now. I know, the man said gently. I can see that. And I want to help if you'll let me. Linda looked at him confused. Help? I'd like to buy you some groceries, he said. Real groceries. Not just bread. Whatever you and your family need. Linda shook her head immediately. No, I can't accept that. I don't take charity. It's not charity, the man said. It's one human being helping another human being. That's all. Nothing more complicated than that. But you don't even know me, Linda said. I don't need to know you to see that you're struggling and trying your best, he replied. That's enough for me. Linda looked down at the single loaf of bread in her hands. She thought about her kids at home, about the empty fridge, about the bare cabinets, about the milk that would be gone by tomorrow, about the rent she couldn't pay, about all of it. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. Why would you do this? She asked, her voice breaking. Why would you help a complete stranger? The man smiled softly. Because someone helped me once when I needed it. And I promised myself that if I ever got the chance, I'd do the same for someone else. Today, you're that someone. Linda looked into his eyes. They were genuine, honest. This wasn't some joke or some cruel trick. This was real. This man actually wanted to help her. I don't know what to say, Linda whispered. Say yes, he replied. Let me do this, please. The word please did it. He was asking her permission, treating her with dignity. Not like a charity case, like a person who deserved respect. Okay, Linda said finally. Yes, thank you. The man's face lit up with a warm smile. Good, come on. Let's go get you and your family some real food. They walked back toward the store entrance. Linda felt strange, disoriented, like she'd stepped into someone else's life. Things like this didn't happen to people like her, did they? As they passed the checkout area, Linda saw Rebecca watching. The young cashier's eyes were wide with surprise. She gave Linda a small thumbs up and a smile. The woman with the designer purse was still at the checkout, loading her organic groceries onto the belt. She glanced over, saw Linda walking back in with the older man, and her expression turned curious. Confused, Linda didn't care anymore. Let them look. Let them judge. For once, something good was happening. For once, the universe was showing her a little bit of kindness, and she was going to accept it. The man grabbed a shopping cart and wheeled it toward her. Okay, he said. Where should we start? Linda stared at the empty shopping cart. It felt wrong somehow. Too big, too hopeful. Like it was meant for someone else, not for her. I really don't need much, she said quietly. Maybe just some milk and eggs. Some cereal for the kids. That would be more than enough. The older man shook his head gently. With all respect, I don't think you're the best judge of what you need right now. When was the last time you ate a real meal? Linda opened her mouth to answer but stopped. When was the last time? She honestly couldn't remember. That's not important, she said. It is important, he replied. You can't take care of your kids if you don't take care of yourself. Trust me on that. I learned it the hard way. There was something in the way he said it. Like he really did understand. Like maybe he'd been where she was now. Linda wondered about this man's story but didn't want to be nosy. Let's start with the basics, he said, pushing the cart toward the produce section. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Growing kids need those. They stopped in front of the apple display. Red ones, green ones, yellow ones. All shiny and perfect. Linda couldn't remember the last time she'd bought fresh fruit. It was always the first thing to go from the budget. Fruit was expensive. Fruit was a luxury. Go ahead, the man encouraged. Pick out what your kids like. Linda reached for a bag and started selecting apples. Red ones. Her daughter loved red apples. She picked 4, then hesitated. Was that too many? She looked at the man uncertainly. More, he said with a smile. Fill the bag, so she did. 8 apples went into the bag. Then the man handed her another bag. Bananas, he said. Kids love bananas. Linda picked out a bunch. Not too ripe, not too green. Just right. The way she used to buy them before. When she was a normal person doing normal shopping, they moved through produce together. Oranges, grapes, carrots, broccoli, a head of lettuce, tomatoes. Each item the man suggested, Linda carefully selected. She kept looking at him, waiting for him to say that was enough, but he never did. My son, he loves strawberries, Linda mentioned, almost shyly. Then get strawberries, the man said immediately. But they're expensive, Linda protested. Not today, they're not, he replied. Today, nothing is too expensive. Not for your family. Linda picked up 2 containers of strawberries. Her hands were still shaking, but for a different reason now. Not from fear or shame, from disbelief, from this overwhelming feeling that couldn't quite name. Hope, maybe. She hadn't felt hope in a long time. The cart was already looking full, and they'd only covered produce. The man pushed it toward the meat section. What is your family like, chicken? Beef, pork? The kids like chicken, Linda said. Chicken nuggets mostly. But I can cook anything. I used to be a good cook before I had to take the waitressing job. Used to make these really nice meals. I bet you did, the man said warmly. And you will again. Let's get some chicken. The good kind. And some ground beef. You can make so many things with ground beef. Linda selected packages of chicken breast, then ground beef like he suggested. The man added pork chops to the cart without asking. Then some bacon. Everyone needs bacon, he said with a wink. It's a scientific fact. Linda actually laughed. It was a small laugh, barely more than a breath, but it was a laugh. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed either. They moved to the dairy section. Milk was first. The man grabbed 2 gallons and put them in the cart. Then eggs. 2 dozen, cheese, butter, yogurt. The kids' favorite yogurt with the cartoon characters on it. Linda almost cried when she put those in the cart. Her daughter had asked for them weeks ago and Linda had to say no. Had to explain they couldn't afford it right now. The disappointment in her daughter's eyes had been crushing. Bread, the man said. You need more than 1 loaf. Get a few. Linda grabbed 3 loaves. Wheat bread this time. The good kind. Not the cheapest store brand. They hit the cereal aisle next. Let them pick their favorites, he said. What do they like? The sugary ones, Linda admitted. The ones with marshmallows and chocolate. Kid cereals. I always told myself I'd buy healthier options, but honestly, if they'll eat breakfast, I don't care if it has marshmallows in it. Smart thinking, the man agreed. Get both. The fun ones and the healthy ones, balance. 4 boxes of cereal went into the cart. 2 fun ones. 2 healthy ones. Plus oatmeal. The instant kind that was easy for busy mornings, people were starting to notice them. Other shoppers would glance at the cart, then at Linda, then at the man. Some smiled. Some looked curious. A few looked judgmental, like they were wondering why this man was helping this obviously poor woman. Linda tried to ignore the stares. She focused on the cart, on the food, on the fact that her kids were going to eat well tonight, and tomorrow, and the day after that, pasta, the man said. Every family needs pasta. It's versatile, easy. Kids usually like it. They load it up on pasta, spaghetti, penne, macaroni, and sauce. Lots of sauce. The man grabbed the good brands, not the cheapest ones. Linda noticed but didn't say anything. She'd stopped questioning his choices, stopped trying to pick the cheapest options. This man clearly had a mission and she was just along for the ride. Snacks, he announced. Kids need snacks. They really don't need snacks, Linda said weakly. They have enough. Everyone needs snacks, he countered. Trust me. I raised a kid. Snacks are essential. Crackers, chips, cookies, granola bars, string cheese, applesauce pouches. The cart was getting heavy now. Linda could barely see over the pile of food. They passed the woman with the designer purse. She was still shopping, her own cart about half as full as Linda's now was. The woman stared openly, her mouth slightly open. Linda made eye contact with her for just a second. She didn't smile or grin or gloat. She just looked at her, person to person, then kept walking. How about cleaning supplies? The man asked. Laundry detergent? Dish soap, things like that? Linda hadn't even thought about that. I have a little soap left, she said. But you'll need more eventually, he pointed out. Let's get you stocked up. They added cleaning supplies, detergent, dish soap, paper towels, toilet paper, the practical things that ate up so much of a budget, but were absolutely necessary. Personal care items, the man continued. Shampoo, toothpaste, things you need. Linda felt tears threatening again. This man was thinking of everything, not just food, but all the little things that made life livable. The things she'd been going without or rationing to make them last. The cart was completely full now. Overflowing, really. They had to balance items carefully to keep them from falling out. I think that's good, the man said, surveying their haul. Unless there's anything else you need. Linda shook her head. This is too much already. This is more than I could have dreamed of. I don't know how to thank you. You just did, he said simply. They headed toward the checkout lanes. The same lanes Linda had stood in earlier, counting out pennies with shaking hands. But this time was different. This time she wasn't alone. This time she wasn't ashamed. Rebecca, the kind cashier from earlier, was still there. Her eyes went wide when she saw Linda returning with the overflowing cart. Linda could see her trying to figure out what had happened. The man wheeled the cart into Rebecca's lane. It was busy again. There were people behind them. But Linda didn't care anymore. Let them wait. Let them watch. This time she had nothing to be ashamed of. Rebecca started scanning items. Beep, beep, beep. The sound was rhythmic, almost musical. Each beep represented something Linda's family needed, something they would have. The total started climbing on the screen. $50? $100. $150. Linda stopped looking. It didn't matter. This man had promised to pay and she believed him. Your total is $347.82, Rebecca announced when everything was scanned. Linda's breath caught. $347? She'd been counting out $2.99 just an hour ago. The difference was staggering. The man pulled out a credit card without hesitation. Not a debit card. A credit card. He handed it to Rebecca like it was the most normal thing in the world. Like $300 wasn't a big deal. Rebecca swiped the card. There was a pause. Linda's heart raced. What if it declined? What if this was all some mistake? What if approved, Rebecca said with a smile. Would you like your receipt? Yes, please, the man said. It was real. It was actually happening. Linda felt dizzy. From hunger, probably, but also from relief, from gratitude, from this overwhelming wave of emotion she couldn't quite control. Let's get this to your car, the man said. He started helping Rebecca bag the groceries. Not just standing there watching, actually helping. Rolling up his sleeves and putting food in bags like it was his job. Linda helped too. They filled bag after bag. It took almost 15 bags to hold everything. 15 heavy bags of groceries. The man loaded the bags back into the cart. Where are you parked? He asked. I walked, Linda admitted quietly. I live a few blocks from here. The man paused. You were going to walk home with groceries? Just the bread, Linda explained. That was all I could carry. He shook his head. Not today. My car is right outside. I'll drive you home. Linda stood frozen in the parking lot. This man wanted to drive her home. A stranger. A kind stranger, yes, but still a stranger. Her mother's warnings from childhood echoed in her head. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in cars with people you don't know. Don't trust too easily. But her mother had never been in this situation. Never had to choose between accepting help and walking 3 blocks in the heat, carrying 15 bags of groceries. If she even could carry them. Linda was so weak from not eating that she wasn't sure she could make it home with just the bread. I can see you're hesitating, the man said gently. I understand. You don't know me, but I promise you're safe. I just want to help you get these groceries home. That's all? Linda looked at his face, really looked at it, at the lines around his eyes that came from smiling, at the genuine kindness in his expression, at the way he stood, not crowding her, giving her space to decide. Okay, she said finally. Thank you. That would be very helpful. The man's car was nice. Not fancy rich nice, but nice, clean, well-maintained. The kind of car that someone took care of. He opened the trunk and they started loading the grocery bags. It took a few minutes to fit everything. Linda climbed into the passenger seat. The car smelled clean. There was a book in the back seat. Some papers. A coffee mug in the cup holder. Normal things. Lived-in things. It made her feel a little better. Where to? He asked, starting the engine. Linda gave him her address. It was on the other side of town. The cheaper side. The side where the apartments had peeling paint and the parking lots had potholes. She felt embarrassed giving him the address, but there was no way around it. They drove in silence for a bit. Not uncomfortable silence, just quiet. Linda watched the buildings pass by. The nice neighborhoods giving way to the okay neighborhoods giving way to the rough neighborhoods. She saw the moment the man registered where they were heading. His expression didn't change, though. No judgment. No surprise. Just acceptance. I used to live around here, he said suddenly. Long time ago. Different building, but same area. Linda looked at him in surprise. Really? Really, he confirmed. When I was first starting out, this was all I could afford. A 1-bedroom apartment with heat that barely worked and neighbors who were loud at all hours. But it was mine. It was a start. What do you do now? Linda asked, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, that's nosy. You don't have to answer that. It's not nosy, he assured her. I'm in tech. Software and computers. I started a company many years ago. It did well. Very well, actually. Linda processed this. This man in his flannel shirt and jeans owned a company. A successful one, it seemed. And he was driving her home with groceries he'd just bought for her family. Why? The question came out before she could stop it. Why did you help me, really? The man was quiet for a moment. They stopped at a red light. He looked at her directly. My mother raised me alone, he said. My father left when I was 5. Just didn't come home one day. Mom worked 3 jobs to keep us fed and housed. I remember going to the store with her when I was maybe 8 or 9. She bought a gallon of milk and some bread. Counted out change just like you did. I remember how her hands shook. How people looked at us. Linda felt her throat tighten. There was a man in line behind us, he continued. He was probably in his 40s. Well-dressed. He saw what was happening and he paid for our groceries. Not just the milk and bread. He walked the store with us and filled a cart. Just like I did with you today. What happened to him? Linda asked softly. I don't know, the man admitted. I never saw him again. But I never forgot him. My mother never forgot him. She told me that night that someday if I ever had enough, I should do the same for someone else. That kindness should be passed on, not paid back. The light turned green. They started moving again. I made her a promise, he said, that I would. And I've kept that promise over the years. But today when I saw you in that store on your knees picking up coins while people judged you, I saw my mother. I saw how hard she tried, how much she sacrificed. And I knew I had to help. Linda wiped her eyes. Your mother sounds like she was an amazing woman. She was, he said with a sad smile. She passed away 5 years ago, but I still try to make her proud. They turned onto Linda Street. The apartment building came into view. It looked even more run down than usual. Faded paint, cracked sidewalks, a broken fence. Linda felt a flash of shame but pushed it away. This was her home. It wasn't much, but it was where her kids were. That made it important. This is it, she said. The building on the left. He pulled into the parking lot and found a spot near the entrance. They both got out and he opened the trunk. The bags of groceries sat there like treasure. Linda couldn't quite believe they were hers. They carried the bags to her apartment. It was on the 2nd floor. The stairs were narrow and the railing was loose. Linda hoped he wouldn't notice. He probably did, but he didn't say anything. At her door, Linda fumbled with her keys. Her hands were shaking again, but this time from nerves. Her apartment was tiny, messy. She hadn't cleaned in days because she'd been too depressed, too tired, too everything. The kids should still be asleep, she whispered as she unlocked the door. They sleep late on Saturdays. They entered quietly. The apartment was exactly as she'd left it. Small, dark. The furniture old and worn. But it was clean enough. She'd made sure of that at least. They made trip after trip, bringing all the bags up from the car. It took about 10 minutes. When the last bag was inside, Linda closed the door and just stared at the pile of groceries on her kitchen counter. It was surreal. Her counter, which was usually bare, was now covered with food. Where do you want everything? The man asked. Oh, you don't have to help unpack, Linda said quickly. You've done so much already. I'm already here, he pointed out. Might as well finish the job, so they unpacked together. Linda showed him where things went. Milk in the fridge, bread in the cabinet, cereal on the shelf. They worked in comfortable silence, creating a rhythm. He'd hand her something and she'd find a place for it. The fridge that had been nearly empty was now full. The cabinets that had been bare now had food, real food. Enough food to last weeks if she was careful. Linda kept having to stop and just look at it, to make sure it was real. They were almost done when Linda heard a sound from the bedroom. A little voice. Mommy? Her daughter appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. Her hair was messy from sleep. She rubbed her eyes and looked confused at the scene in front of her. Her mother and a strange man filling their kitchen with food. Hey, sweetheart, Linda said softly. It's okay. This is a friend. He helped Mommy get some groceries. Her daughter looked at the man shyly. He gave her a small wave. Hi there, he said gently. Hi, she whispered back. Her son appeared next, trailing his blanket behind him. He was braver than his sister. Who are you? He asked directly. I'm a friend, the man said. I was just helping your mom bring home some food. Are you hungry? Both kids nodded enthusiastically. Well, you're in luck, he said, because your mom has a whole kitchen full of food now. I bet she could make you a really good breakfast. The kids' eyes went wide. They rushed to the kitchen and started looking at everything. Their excitement was pure and genuine. They'd been living on so little for so long that this abundance was like Christmas morning. "Can we have the strawberries?" her daughter asked hopefully. "Yes," Linda said, her voice cracking. "You can have the strawberries." "And the cereal with marshmallows?" her son added. "That too," Linda confirmed. The kids cheered, actual cheering, over cereal and strawberries. It broke Linda's heart and healed it at the same time. The man watched with a smile. "I should get going," he said. "Let you folks enjoy your breakfast." "Wait," Linda said suddenly. "I don't even know your name. You did all this and I don't even know your name." The man paused at the door. "It's Robert," he said. "But honestly, the name doesn't matter. What matters is that you and your kids are going to be okay." "Robert," Linda repeated. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll never forget this, never." "You're welcome," he said. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "I want you to have this." Linda took the card. It was simple. White with black text. Robert Wellington, CEO, Wellington Tech Solutions. A phone number. An email address. An address. Wellington Tech Solutions, Linda read aloud. Then it clicked. Wellington Tech, she'd heard of them. Everyone had heard of them. They were huge. One of the biggest tech companies in the country. And this man, this kind man in flannel and jeans who'd just bought her groceries, was the CEO. She looked up at him with wide eyes. "You're Robert Wellington." "The Robert Wellington," he smiled. "I'm just Robert. The rest is just titles." "But you're a billionaire," Linda said, still processing. "I looked you up once for a school project my daughter had. You're one of the richest people in the country." "Money is just numbers," he said. "It doesn't mean anything if you don't use it to help people. My mother taught me that." Linda looked at the business card again, then back at him. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because I want to help more," he said. "My company is opening a new facility here in town. A distribution center. We need good people. People who work hard. People who care. People like you." "I'm just a waitress," Linda said. "Well, I was a waitress. Now I'm unemployed. You're more than that. Rubber." Linda stood in her tiny apartment holding a business card that might as well have been a winning lottery ticket. Robert Wellington. Monday at 10. A real job opportunity. It felt like a dream. The kind of dream you have right before you wake up and reality crashes back down. "I don't understand," she said, her voice shaking. "Why would you do this?" "You don't owe me anything. You already bought all these groceries. That's more than enough." Robert looked at her seriously. "I'm going to tell you something my mother told me once. She said that life isn't about what you owe people. It's about what you can do for people. When you have the ability to change someone's life for the better, you have a responsibility to do it." "But I'm nobody," Linda whispered. "Just another struggling single mom." "You're not nobody," Robert said firmly. "You're a hard worker who's had some bad luck. That's all unemployment is most of the time. Bad luck, wrong place, wrong time. The economy shifts. Companies downsize. It's rarely about the person. It's about circumstances." Linda's daughter tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, can we have breakfast now?" "In a minute, honey," Linda said softly. Robert smiled at the little girl. "Actually, I think your mom should feed you right now. We can talk more Monday. You have my number on that card. If anything comes up, call me, okay?" Linda nodded, still clutching the card like it might disappear. "Okay, Monday, 10 o'clock. I'll be there." "Good," Robert said. He looked at the kids. "You two take care of your mom, okay? She's pretty special." The boy saluted. The girl giggled. They were already warming up to this strange, kind man. After Robert left, Linda just stood there for a long moment. Her kids were pulling boxes of cereal out of the cabinet, chattering excitedly about what to eat first. The apartment suddenly felt different, brighter somehow, like hope had physically walked through the door with those grocery bags. "Mommy, you're crying again," her daughter said, concerned. Linda wiped her eyes and smiled. "Happy tears, baby. These are happy tears. Now let's make the best breakfast ever." She made pancakes with the fresh eggs and milk. Real butter, fresh strawberries on top. The kids ate like they hadn't seen food in days, which wasn't far from the truth. Linda made herself eat too, even though her stomach had shrunk so much that she felt full after just a few bites. She knew she needed to build her strength back up. After breakfast, Linda pulled out her laptop. It was old, slow, and the screen had a crack, but it worked. She looked up Wellington Tech Solutions. The website was professional, clean, modern. She read about the company, about Robert Wellington's history, about the new distribution center opening in town. Then she did something she hadn't done in weeks. She updated her resume. It wasn't much. High school diploma. Various service jobs, waitressing, retail, nothing fancy, nothing impressive. But she typed it all up as professionally as she could. Listed her skills, her work history, made herself look as good as possible on paper. The weekend passed in a blur. Linda spent Saturday afternoon cleaning the apartment properly for the first time in weeks. She did laundry, organized the new groceries, made real meals for her kids. They had spaghetti Saturday night, chicken and vegetables Sunday. The kids couldn't stop smiling. Sunday evening, Linda picked out her best outfit for Monday. It was a simple black skirt and a white blouse. Both were a few years old but still looked decent. Professional enough, she hoped. She ironed them carefully, making sure every wrinkle was gone. She barely slept Sunday night. Her mind raced with possibilities and worries. What if this was a mistake? What if Robert changed his mind? What if she wasn't qualified enough? What if she messed up the interview? But every time the negative thoughts started, she'd remember his kindness in the store. His genuine desire to help. She had to trust that was real. Monday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Linda got up extra early. She showered, did her hair as nicely as she could, put on a little makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked like someone who had hope. Someone who had a chance. The neighbor, an older woman who'd always been kind, agreed to watch the kids. Linda left them with instructions and emergency numbers, kissed them both goodbye, and headed out. The bus ride to Wellington Tech Solutions took 40 minutes. Linda watched the city change through the window. Her neighborhood faded away and nicer areas appeared. Clean streets, new buildings. People in business clothes walking with purpose. The Wellington Tech building was impressive. Glass and steel, modern architecture, a fountain in front. Linda stood outside for a moment, gathering her courage. This was it. This was her chance. She couldn't mess it up. Inside, the lobby was even more intimidating. High ceilings, marble floors, a reception desk that looked like something from a sci-fi movie. Everyone looked important and busy. Linda felt completely out of place. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked. She was young, professional, with perfect hair and a friendly smile. "I have an appointment with Robert Wellington," Linda said, trying to sound confident. "At 10 o'clock. The receptionist's eyebrows went up slightly. "Your name?" "Linda Gonzalez." The receptionist typed something into her computer. "Oh yes, he's expecting you. Top floor. Take the elevator on the right. Someone will meet you there." Linda thanked her and headed to the elevator. Her hands were shaking again. She pressed the button for the top floor and watched the numbers climb. 10, 20, 30, 40. How tall was this building? The doors opened to a completely different world. This floor was quiet, sophisticated. Expensive art on the walls, thick carpet that absorbed sound. A woman in a business suit was waiting. "Miss Gonzalez?" she asked warmly. Linda nodded. "I'm Patricia, Robert's assistant. He's finishing up a call, but he'll be ready for you in just a moment. Can I get you some water? Coffee?" "Water would be nice," Linda said. Her throat was so dry. Patricia led her to a comfortable waiting area and brought her a bottle of water. Fancy water with a fancy label. Linda sipped it slowly, trying to calm her nerves. 5 minutes later, Patricia returned. "He's ready for you now." Linda followed her down a hallway to a large office at the end. Patricia knocked gently and opened the door. Robert Wellington stood up from behind a massive desk. But he was wearing the same type of outfit as Saturday. Jeans and a casual shirt. It made Linda feel slightly less nervous. "Linda," he said with a genuine smile, "I'm so glad you came. Please sit down." Linda sat in the chair across from his desk. She placed her folder with her resume on her lap and tried to sit up straight. Professional, confident, even if she didn't feel it. "I'm not going to lie to you," Robert said, getting straight to business. "I brought you here because I think you have something valuable. Character, determination, the kind of qualities that can't be taught." "I brought my resume," Linda said. Holding out the folder, Robert took it but didn't open it. I'll look at this. But honestly, your work history isn't why I asked you here. I asked you here because I saw how you handled yourself Saturday. You were at your lowest point and you didn't give up. You didn't get angry at those women who judged you. You just kept trying to take care of your family. That's the kind of person I want working for me. Linda felt tears threatening but held them back. I'll work hard. Whatever the job is, I'll do my absolute best. I know you will, Robert said. Here's what I'm thinking. We're opening our new distribution center next month. We need supervisors, people who can manage teams, solve problems, keep things running smoothly. It's not easy work. It requires long hours sometimes, but it pays well. Full benefits, health insurance, retirement plan. The whole package. Linda's heart was racing. A supervisor position. I've never been a supervisor before. I've always been the one being supervised. That can be an advantage, Robert said. You know what it's like to be on the team. You understand the workers because you've been one. That creates respect. Some of the best managers I've ever had started at entry level. What would I need to do? Linda asked. First, training, Robert explained. 2 weeks of intensive training starting next week. You'd learn our systems, our processes, our standards. It's paid training, of course. After that, you'd start as an assistant supervisor learning on the job. Within 3 to 6 months, if things go well, you'd move up to full supervisor. He named a salary. Linda's eyes went wide. It was more than double what she'd been making as a waitress. With that kind of money, she could pay her rent on time, buy groceries without counting pennies, maybe even save a little. The possibilities made her dizzy. There's one more thing, Robert said. He pulled out another piece of paper. I'm going to help you with something else. I've arranged for 3 months of your rent and utilities to be paid. Consider it a signing bonus. I want you to focus on training and your new job without worrying about keeping a roof over your head. Linda couldn't hold back the tears anymore. They just came. Big, grateful, overwhelmed tears. I don't know what to say. This is too much. You've already done so much. It's not too much, Robert said, gently handing her a tissue. It's what should happen when someone who has the means to help meets someone who needs a hand up. You're not looking for a handout, Linda. You're looking for an opportunity, and I'm giving you one. What you do with it is up to you. Linda wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. When do I start? Next Monday, Robert said. Training B,